I am Iron Man.
He's idiosyncratic, he's dramatic, and he's got money coming out of his ears. Mr. Iron Man himself, Robert Downey Jr., is the highest paid actor in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Take this, Chris Evans, Chris Hemsworth, and Tom Holland. With a sparkling net worth in the hundreds of millions of dollars, he's well on his way to being one of the richest in the entire industry as well. So how does Marvel's billionaire and Hollywood's real-life multi-millionaire spend all of his cash? It is time to find out. Before we dive from the clouds all Iron Man style into how Downey Jr. spends all of his hard-earned cash, let's get a better idea of how much he's actually worth. And while we're at it, how he ended up acquiring such deep pockets in the first place. When you think of Hollywood heavyweights, which names come to mind? Go ahead, throw out a few. Leonardo DiCaprio,
Scarlett Johansson,
Ryan Reynolds,
Ryan Gosling.
Okay, well, those guys are worth $260 million, $165 million, $75 million, and $60 million, respectively. None of them even come close to our beloved Iron Man. Thanks to all of his roles in the MCU, his earlier films, plus investments in his own company, and a ton of various sponsorships, RDJ has amassed a net worth of, are you ready for this? $300 million. It'd take you more than 5,000 years earning the average American income to match that. It wasn't always overflowing wallets, rocket boots, and money falling from the trees for Downey Jr. Sure, we know him from his Marvel character, but his resume is far more diverse.
Take that off. What are you?
Genius, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist.
He had already starred in tons of TV and film, like Ally McBeal, Game 6, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, and Tropic Thunder. Prior to pulling on the red and gold suit, however, Robert Downey Jr. was a very different person. He was born in Manhattan, New York, and, well, to put it politely, he'd messed up like a few times. He had found himself on the wrong side of the law far more often than he would like to admit, ending up behind bars, in rehabilitation facilities, and as a centerpiece for the tabloids to rain fire down upon. When he was facing trial, the judge told him that he was manipulative and had exhausted the court's options and the court's patience, so they put him behind bars for 3 years for repeatedly violating probation. With all of this craziness going on, Jr.'s career tanked massively in the early 2000s. At this point, he still had a hefty bank balance supporting him, but nowhere near the 300 mil stash he's sitting on now. Alas, as we all now know, a comeback was on the horizon, and it was going to be one of the biggest we'd ever seen in the industry. When he'd landed the pivotal role as Tony Stark in the first Iron Man film, RDJ is said to have only pocketed around $500,000. Due to his history, the studios considered him a risky hire, so they weren't prepared to throw the entire kitchen sink at him. Once he nailed the role, the sky was the limit. Thereafter came Iron Man 2, Iron Man 3, the Avengers, and the rest of the Marvel appearances. It was these roles and this massive contract with Marvel Studios that truly surged his net worth and propelled him to stardom. Heck, he made $75 million for Avengers Endgame alone. Now, about that busting bank balance, what does he do with it all? Cars and houses, of course, but that's obvious. Let's kick things off with the most Tony Stark expenditure there is, a life-sized, remote-controlled Iron Man suit. Would you buy one too? We would. It's worth a whopping $300,000. Downey owns a 6-foot Iron Man costume as a reminder of his time as the character. And yes, the suit is even taller than Robert himself. It was designed by a master model maker named Greg Tanis from rcsuperhero.com, hence why it's so high quality. And while it doesn't shoot lasers, it still lights up and has a wide range of remote-controlled movements. Okay, so Downey didn't actually buy this for himself, despite how egotistical his character comes across. It was his staff that purchased it for his birthday, but it's still a sizable chunk of his total assets. That's not the only souvenir that RDJ has from his time as Tony Stark. With a price tag of $4,000, our next purchase might not break the bank, but it's perhaps one of the most sentimental items that the Hollywood actor owns. We're talking about the A emblem from the Avengers films. You know the one we're talking about, right? It was the only letter that survived the attack on Stark Towers in the Battle for New York scene. As the story goes, Downey Jr. walked up to the studio execs and said, "Hey, any chance I can take home that giant 30-foot-tall A emblem and stick it on one of my many fancy pants houses?" To his surprise, the next thing he knew, a truck was pulling up outside of his house with that infamous A strapped to the back. Luckily for him, his house was big enough to store it. His house, or should we say houses, are in fact big enough to store a lot of cars in as well. If you were worth hundreds of millions of dollars, what's the first car that you would buy? Let us know in the comments. For Iron Man, it's not just one car, it's tens of them. There's the Audi R8, worth $169,900. You can see that same car in nearly every Iron Man movie as well. When he's not cruising around in that one, he's got the custom Boss 302 Mustang. While not everyone loves the khaki yellow, they sure love the roar that the 5.0-liter V8 produces. That custom build that was actually made for the SEMA show in 2017 would have set him back a couple of $100,000, a similar price to the Ferrari California T that he owns. As if those weren't enough to choose from, his garage also features a $110,000 Fisker Karma, which was one of the world's first production luxury plug-in hybrid electric vehicles. Leonardo DiCaprio has one as well, in case you were wondering. Rob also boasts a Nissan GTR and a Mercedes S550, each worth over $100,000. And thankfully, that's all of them. Nah, just kidding. He's also been seen behind the wheel of another Audi R8 from 2008 worth $116,000, a Mercedes SL 550 Coupe convertible, and an Audi A7, and a Bentley Continental GT. That's a fair collection, isn't it? As you can probably tell, no brand quite tickles Rob's fancy like Audi does. In addition to the A7 and the R8, he's also got an A8. These rides go upwards of $80,000 and are a typical symbol of luxury. It's not all selfish purchases, though. Our beloved Iron Man decided to share the automotive love around. When he's not buying cars for himself, he's splurging on sets of wheels for his friends. Like this Captain America-themed custom-built Camaro for his fellow superhero, Captain America himself, aka Steve Rogers, aka Chris Evans. The sick car features an LS3 engine, as well as a 2.9 Whipple supercharger, and a steering wheel accented with a Captain America logo. From fast cars to something a little more subtle, it turns out that RDJ has quite an affinity for high-end watches. Can you blame him? When you're constantly in the world's spotlight, you want to look your best, right? In the great actor's very own words, quote, "You can learn a lot about a man if you open up his jewelry box." So why not take a quick peek inside our favorite superhero's box of bling? First up, we've got the Jaeger LeCoultre. Any guesses how much that timepiece is worth? Oh, just a lazy $92,000, no biggie. For any die-hard Marvel fans out there, if the Jaeger LeCoultre seems a little bit familiar, it's because it appeared in Iron Man 2. When he gets bored of the $100,000 wrist accessory, for a bit of variety, Downey can go for his far more affordable option, the Rolex GMT Master 2 Ghost Watch.
Can't. I got myself and a buddy of mine black Rolexes for his birthday for some reason.
Which is part of the Rolex MAD collection. He actually was buying the watch for a friend's birthday, but loved its look so much he bought one for himself as well. When you're an A-lister, affordable is a relative term. You still have to fork out $25,000 to add this one to your collection. With film after film after film, if you expected Robert to live close to all the Hollywood studios, you'd be right. Take a look at this stunning Malibu mansion, which set him back a solid $3.7 million smackaroonies. If you ask him, it's worth every penny. On the inside, the 3,384 square foot estate features 3 bedrooms, but on the outside is where it really shines. It boasts a view over the Malibu Lagoon, and a backyard with a pool, a hot tub, a fire pit, and a putting green. Sometimes the bright lights of Tinseltown can get a little overwhelming, and that's why Downey has a couple of quiet retreats, away from the paparazzi-lined streets. When he's not in Malibu, you can find him kicking back in his $2.5 million Pacific Palisades home, which has 4 bedrooms and a ranch-style design with extra high hedges to keep the fans out. Sure, both of these houses are impressive, but they each pale in comparison to the $10.5 million windmill home in the Hamptons. Yep, that's an actual windmill, folks. It might be weird, but hey, would you expect anything less from this unique movie star? We sure wouldn't. It's not all just spend, 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 though. Sometimes Junior reinvests his money. How? Through his own business. It's called Footprint Coalition, and it does exactly what you'd expect an Iron Man business to do. Use robotics and nanotechnology to clean up the planet. The scientist-led coalition was announced in 2019 and is set to officially launch at some stage in 2020. Since Robert wrapped up more than a decade of filming for Marvel, he's decided to take the risk and put his money toward saving the world from an entirely different villain, climate change. A website for the company went live after he made the announcement, but it currently features little more than a newsletter sign-up form. Clearly, there's a lot going on behind closed doors. Okie dokie, we spoke a lot about Rob's badass car collection, but there's one particular ride that deserves a dedicated mention. This is the Acura NSX concept car. Ordinarily, these go for around $157,500. However, this one is special. This particular NSX was purposely built and customized for the Iron Man 3 movie. To his delight, it landed up inside Robert Downey Jr.'s garage. It's not an Audi, but when you hear its value, you'll understand why he doesn't mind having it around. Any guesses? How about $9 million? Next up, say hello to Iron Man's very own luxury sneaker collection. We've already seen that he's not afraid to splurge on watches, and that's the same case for his kicks. Take a look at these gorgeous Christian Louboutin Louis Strauss sneakers, which he has been wearing on red carpets time and time again. These babies set him back a whopping $2,495 crisp $1 bills. Damn! Would you spend that much on shoes? We sure couldn't. But those aren't even the most intriguing shoes in his collection. Nope, that would actually be his Givenchy wedged sneakers. It's not exactly a secret that Downey isn't the tallest of humans at just 5'9", but his charisma and ego certainly put him on a pedestal. That's why he's gone for these $2,000 wedges, which sport a 2.5-inch sole. He loves this pair and even wore them to his very own 50th birthday party extravaganza. That's all for today. What's your favorite RDJ movie? Iron Man 2? Avengers Endgame? Weird Science? Chaplin? Or something else? Let us know. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for checking out The Richest, and we'll see you next time.